Hey guys, it's your girl T, and I'm back with another episode review of the Preachers of L.A, episode 4. So in this episode, it opens up with Deitrick Haddon meeting with Dominique's mom and basically surprising Dominique's mom by telling her that he want to buy a 6-bedroom, 7-bathroom house for her daughter. And Dominique's mom is funny. You can tell, for some reason, I feel like she's not really feeling Deitrick, but being that he knocked up her daughter, she has no choice but to accept him. He tells the mother to not say anything, that it's going to be a surprise for Dominique. So in the next scene, we then get to see Bishop McClendon. Now, we haven't seen Bishop McClendon in a while. He doesn't necessarily make an appearance on Preachers of L.A. a lot. But it's funny that when he does make an appearance, I don't know, for some reason, he just kind of rubs me the wrong way. He comes off as extremely arrogant and full of himself. It's like he's one of them dudes, he knows he's a pretty boy, he knows he looks good, and he's not shy about announcing that. He's always talking about his haters and how he's a pretty boy and how he has swag. It's like, dude, are you a pastor? Are you a hip-hop artist? That's what I'm trying to figure out. So in the scene with Bishop McClendon, basically he introduces us to Farnsworth Bentley, who used to be P. Diddy's manservant. Remember, he used to hold P. Diddy's umbrella? Well, I guess him and Bishop McClendon are really cool. A lot of folks thought that Farnsworth Bentley was gay, but in this episode, we actually get to meet his wife and his 5-month-old daughter. She's either 5 months or 5 weeks, I forget. But we get to meet his baby girl. So Bishop McClendon, is sitting there at his big old compound waiting for Farnsworth Bentley to come through. And then lo and behold, Farnsworth Bentley walks through the door, and him and Bishop McClendon are literally dressed like twins. They got on the same suit jacket, the same bright pants, and then they start complimenting each other on how much swag they have and how they must have prayed alike because for some reason God let them to pick out the same outfit. Just a bunch of man stroking. And I was just like, really? Okay. I'm just sitting here watching this love fest like, really? And then he tells the wife, to excuse them so that way they can, have some alone time together and talk about a few things. So I'm thinking they about to talk about some really, really deep stuff. And basically Farnsworth Bentley tells Pastor McClendon that, it's hard to be a father and it's hard being away from his daughter. And, sometimes he just feels so stressed out when he's having to be when he has to fly on a plane first class to L.A. and he has to be on a plane for 6 hours and not being able to be around his child. And I'm sitting here listening to this shit like, you know what? If you're stressed about flying first class where they feed you, give you the best of the best, and you have extra leg room, then try flying like me, behind first class where the seats are this big, all you get is a soda, and depending on what airline you fly on, they might charge you for that shit. But you don't get no meals in regular class, so at least they feed you where you're at in first class. I just found it funny how they were complaining about flying around the country first class. And my thing is, I don't understand what Farnsworth Bentley does anyways, where he needs to be away from his wife and child for so long. What does he do for a living? The last thing I remembered him doing was holding an umbrella for P. Diddy. So unless he's still working for P. Diddy, I have no idea what Farnsworth Bentley does. So then while he's talking to Farnsworth Bentley, he starts complaining about security. Pastor McClendon starts telling about all these haters he has and how he needs top flight security and how his security details have told him that he has more people coming after him than A-list celebrities. I just felt like it was like a whole ego thing. Like I need, security around me 24/7 because folks are threatening my life and, and I need to make sure I'm safe. And I just found it crazy that if you're that worried about people threatening your life and you're that worried about people, coming to attack you, why would you go on a reality show and expose your family to these mysterious people who want you dead? It's almost like this man is just so egotistical and narcissistic that it's crazy. It's like you go on a reality TV show, you show everybody your family, you show everybody your home, your flashy cars, but then you're upset and you're scared about people coming after you. So he ends up meeting with his security details, and he's upset because this man in this clip right here ended up trying to, I guess, attack him supposedly while he was preaching. But from what I saw in the clip, it seemed like he walked up to him and grabbed his arm. I didn't see a knife. I didn't see a gun. He didn't punch him. It's like he really tried to overplay that scene, and then he starts going off on his security detail like, what am I paying y'all for? You guys are supposed to make sure that I'm safe at all times. I'm here to preach the word of God, and how dare you let somebody who's not my family come that close? And the dude is just really, really full of himself. And, if he's that concerned about crazy folks coming after him, then maybe this is not the right show for him. And another thing I find funny, now I'll admit, before I started doing these reviews, before people asked me to start watching this show, I had no idea who any of these people were, including Deitrick Haddon. I'm not really into like Christian music and gospel music and stuff like that. I have my own relationship with God, like I've told y'all. So I'm not into who the latest preachers are and who's, the latest gospel single. I'm just not into that stuff, to each his own. But my thing is, it seems like there are other pastors on here who are more popular or more well-known than Mr. McClendon, and they don't seem to have all these security issues. They don't seem to have folks, threatening them and trying to kill them. But this pastor, and I'm not saying he's not famous or not well-known. I never heard of him before this show, but it's just strange that he has all this drama and all these folks coming after him. Makes me think, like, whose wife are you fucking that the husband is trying to come after you? Whose boyfriend or husband are you having sex with that the wife is trying to kill you? It seems like there's just more beneath the eye. It's just strange that he has all this drama and he needs all this security. And my question is, Rod, what are you doing outside of church that all these folks are checking for you, but they're not coming after Deitrick Haddon and, Pastor Noel Jones and anybody else? So if somebody could explain that to me, please let me know, because he just kind of comes off to me as just overly arrogant. He's always talking about his looks and his swag and how people are jealous and how people are haters. It is not that serious. I feel like sometimes when I listen to him and watch him on this show, I feel like I'm watching an entertainer or a rapper and not a pastor. So moving on. Okay, so moving on to the next scene. I think this was the most touching scene during this entire episode. Pastor Ron, his wife Lavette, and his sister, they go get his dope fiend sister. Her name is Shaun from Compton. Supposedly she's a prostitute and she's strung out on heroin, and they want to clean her up. So, I just feel like this whole thing was staged. The lady claims she's been doing heroin for the past 20 years. And what was so funny is that when they first rolled up on her, she gets real defensive. She gets upset. And she's like, get these cameras out of here. Get these cameras out of my face. It seems like she forgot that she was hooked up to a microphone. You can clearly see her microphone hanging out the back of her pants. So you knew the camera crew was coming. You're already microphoned and taped up. So what are you screaming for? Why are you acting brand new? You know you're on a reality show. I feel like this whole little scene was scripted, but even though it was scripted to me, it was still touching. And I also find it funny that she's been on heroin for 20 years and she looks the way she does. She doesn't look like she's had a problem for 20 years. There are people who have been on heroin for 6 months and they look like shit. Like literally missing teeth, the hair's not done. She looked pretty cleaned up for somebody who's a 20-year dope fiend. I'm just saying. I think it was a good thing that he did go get her. I feel like there was just a lot of hype and, I gotta go with my guns and I don't know the youngsters, but I know the OGs. And then in the one scene, when they finally get her in the car, they take her to Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. So they're sitting there eating their little chicken and waffles, and this man comes in and he's hugging on her, and she's like, oh, this is my homeboy I told you about. But it's clearly a dope boy that's slinging dope to her, and he's basically coming to give her medicine, which is heroin. And, he starts preaching to her and telling her, we never left you. We've always loved you. We want you to clean up your life. And she starts, crying and saying that she wants help. So they end up putting her in treatment. So then he ends up preaching that Sunday about everything he did for his sister. And his sermon was really touching. But in the middle of the sermon, this cameraman goes running through the scene. It's funny because the cameraman's all trying to duck and shit, and he's being recorded, he's zigzagging while the man's trying to preach. And I'm like, this is some hood boogie shit right here. But his sermon was nice, and, I'm glad that he's trying to get his sister the help that she needs. Drug addiction is no joke. After a while, it may be fun to that person, but like they said, after a while, you're not doing it to get high. You're doing it just to, get better because you're dope sick, and now your body truly needs it. So I think that was a big lesson, and it's good that he can be a role model to his sister and other drug addicts out there, because he himself was a crackhead for a number of years. He was a heroin dealer and a heroin user for a number of years, and since then he's cleaned himself up, and now he's spreading the word of God. So I think Ron, even though this show is scripted and I think a lot of this stuff is kind of thrown together, I do appreciate that he's at least going out there and doing something. He's trying to help other people, unlike some of these other pastors on the show. So last but not least, back to Mr. Deitrick Haddon. So Deitrick Haddon finally, gets a hold of Dominique and tells Dominique to close her eyes, that he has a surprise for her. And the whole time he's like telling Dominique, keep your eyes closed. I don't want you to see anything. She's making these weird comments about, are you going to kill me? Are you going to throw me in a ditch? And I'm just like, it was just kind of odd, like these were the comments coming out her mouth. And I'm sure she was just joking, but if my dude is telling me to close my eyes because he has a surprise for me, I'm not thinking that he's about to kill me or throw me in a ditch. I'm thinking, damn, I wonder what the surprise may be. I'm the luckiest girl in the world and I love my man. Her comments were just kind of odd to me. It's almost like she feels like she did something wrong and he may kill her for having this kid or something. I don't know. Her comments were just kind of strange. But anyways, he finally tells her to open her eyes, and lo and behold, ta-da! A brand new home. 6 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, beautiful home, master kitchen, and the best part of it all is Dominique has this amazing walk-in closet where she can fill up all her worldly goods and stun on these hoes when she goes to church. So, I mean, it's just funny. So now they're in the kitchen talking, and he's telling Dominique, I'm not about to be in this huge 10,000 square foot home by myself. We need to get married now. I want you guys here with me. I want you and my daughter with me. We've made mistakes, but we're going to rectify it. To me, I feel like this was fake. Because last week, you know, she was so adamant about not getting married, you know, not rushing into the marriage because she wanted to do it in front of her family and friends and everything else. This week, when she seen the house, she was all ready to get married with him. It's almost like, okay, I got the gift. We can get married because I'm ready to live in this big old mansion too. I find the whole thing just kind of tacky. You know, him wanting to rush it. And don't think for 1 minute that I don't think that Dominique and him have been living together. I do not believe for a minute that she's been staying with her mother this whole time. This is a grown woman. They're trying to act like she's this ditzy 18, 19-year-old girl that just don't know nothing. Dominique is grown. I don't believe that she's been living with her mother for this whole time. I believe that she had already been staying in this house, and this was just all part of the script. You know, what I find crazy about Deitrick Haddon is that he's so defensive. When he went to go meet with his brother and tell his brother that he was planning on, you know, marrying Dominique a month early so that way the baby and Dominique can move in with him, the brother was like, well, did you talk to dad yet? Have you talked to mom? And it's like he wants to get so defensive. I don't have to explain myself to nobody. This is about me and her. I'm not looking for y'all's approval. But it's like, dude, you're a pastor. You're supposed to be a man of God. It's funny how he can always dish advice and always preach and dish stuff out. But then when somebody questions him about anything, he gets so offended, especially when it comes to this relationship. And my thing is, if you can get so offended about anybody questioning your relationship with her, then at some point in time, to me, there's something about the relationship that's not genuine. And I feel like at times he's trying to force it, and he's trying to make everybody, and he's trying to make people feel like this is a real relationship and he's really in love with her and he really wants to be with this woman. And it just comes off to me as almost forced because he gets way too defensive anytime somebody says anything concerning Dominique and him. So they end up getting married in the backyard. They finally talked to Dominique's mother. Dominique's mother is like, okay, fine. Y'all can go ahead and get married a month early. I'll be one of the witnesses. So they end up getting married in the backyard. And this whole situation to me is tacky. And it makes it come off like the only reason why he wants to get married with her is so he can sling that damn beef stick. Because it's almost like there was a month left for your guys to have the official wedding. Why did you need to rush it just because you got this house? You could have got the house the following month, you know what I'm saying, after they got married. And I think the tackiest part of this whole impromptu wedding was the fact that he put a piece of yarn on her ring finger to signalize that they were married. It's like you couldn't have got her a ring. You couldn't have just gave her the ring that you bought her. You know, it just seemed thrown together, and it just makes it look like the only reason why they're trying to get married so they can shack up and have sex freely without people judging them. You know, not that I don't think that they've been having sex. I said that during the first episode, that these people are not only living together, but I feel like they've been having sex. They have a lot of sexual chemistry, and I doubt that they're not having sex with each other. But again, y'all gonna believe what y'all want to believe. But I just thought the whole yarn on the ring finger thing was just tacky. You know, they could have just waited to do the official, you know, wedding. But again, this is a show. People need to have something to talk about, so they're gonna give you something to talk about. So anyways, this is my review for this week. Go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on the entire situation. And you can also watch the full episode down below. Make sure you guys go ahead and click the link and check it out. All right, talk to y'all later. Deuces.